Hello YouTube, my name is Marie, and today we're going to do a first impression review video for the first 3 episodes of the Netflix original Arthdal Chronicles. And at the time of this review, there are 4 episodes out, but I'm a little bit short for time right now, so I'm only going to do the first 3. So I'm going to first read you the Netflix synopsis of the show. In a mythical land called Arth, the inhabitants of the ancient city of Arthdal and its surrounding regions vie for power as they build a new society. So within this mythical land, there are 2 primary races. You have the regular red-blooded humans who in this world lack the ability to dream. And then you have the more animalistic, blue-eyed, blue-blooded creatures who are much faster and much stronger than humans, and these humanoids can dream. Now, a war for resources breaks out between the 2, and the humans end up winning the war through some trickery. I hope nobody thinks this is spoilers, because it truly happens within the first 20-30 minutes of the first episode, and it is spoon-fed to you through a lot of exposition and far too much info dumping. And if you can't tell, I'm not a huge fan of that storytelling structure. I think it's really lazy, and I think there's always a better way to convey information than just here it is. So jump forward about 2 decades and about 50 minutes-ish into the first episode, and you finally meet the actors who will be portraying our cast of characters for the rest of the show. You had met these characters previously, but they were played by younger actors. And yeah, so you've got 3 truly main characters within these first 3 episodes. You have a half-breed who doesn't know he's a half-breed. His mother dreamt of some sort of calamity surrounding him, I will not spoil that part, and spirits him away to the land below. Upon his mother's death, he is raised by a more primitive tribe. He forms a strong friendship with the successor of the tribe. They are more of a matriarchy. She is kind of like a shaman priestess sort of role, apprentice in the tribe when we first meet her. And lastly, I'll talk about Taegong, like the leader of the human military, and he has some really high aspirations. I'm going to talk first about my negatives because they're really important, and I think that they will turn a lot of people off of this show, even though I am really enjoying it. So I just want to talk about the negatives, get them out of the way, and as you will see, they all kind of fall under a similar category where I feel like they bring me out of the show. They take me out of the realism and the believability of the world. This show relies really heavily on CGI. I would say probably over 70% of what you see on screen is computer generated. There are not a lot of practical sets, and I don't believe they shoot on location very often. At least it doesn't look like it. That would be fine if the CG was good. The CG is bad. It's really awful, and it truly doesn't make any sense to me where they're placing their money. Because say there's one scene in particular where there is like a pack of wolves and then like one boss wolf and like there isn't really a fight with these wolves, so it just seems super unnecessary to me why there were so many. Like, why spend the money to try and have so many wolves on screen when you could get the same desired effect with say like one bear or something? So I do realize that this show is like really loosely based off of the Korean creation myth. Beyond that, no idea. So I don't know if these wolves are like a small part within that actual creation myth story. So maybe they felt like obligated to include them, but I was just like, you're wasting your money. Feels as though the visual effects department either didn't have enough time or money to realize this grand world that they were tasked with putting to screen. It actually has the opposite effect. Instead of making this feel like a really rich, vast world, I feel like it's smaller because I'm constantly reminded of, oh, that's probably shot on a green screen. Another thing that brings me out of the show are a few of the acting choices by a few of the female cast members. Not all, obviously. I actually think the general performances on screen are quite enjoyable, but there are a few moments where select characters will deliver lines in a very modern way. I don't know if this would be a problem for anybody who hasn't watched a lot of Korean TV like I have. I do think that this show is going to have a much broader appeal than a lot of other Korean shows, so someone who doesn't watch a lot of Korean TV might watch it, not pick it up like I did, but I watched and I'm like, any moment now, this girl is just gonna be like, oppa! That felt really weird for me to do, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Last really major issue that I have is that I don't feel that enough research had gone into this show. Research by the script writers, research by the production team, specifically the props department and the costume design and even like the set design, like, and nothing feels very genuine. This primitive tribe that our male lead ends up being raised by, they talk a lot about how the idea of owning land is very foreign and a strange concept to them, but I can see you have very permanent dwellings in the background. And if I remember my anthropology classes correctly, anybody, any group of people, any civilization, as soon as they put down permanent roots, they start to own shit. So don't tell me that this idea of owning land is very foreign to you unless I see like tents or teepees or like yurts, is that what they're called? Like, I need to see movable dwellings. Along those same lines, a lot of the costumes seem really thrown together thoughtlessly. I look at them and I'm like, what's the purpose there? I don't know. Maybe I'm asking too much. Okay, so we got those negatives out of the way. Now let's talk about a few things that I'm really enjoying, because like I said earlier, I actually really do enjoy this show. I think it's a lot of fun. I see a lot of great potential in there, and I actually love a lot of the characters. I can't quite put my finger on what makes the male lead and the female lead, like the leads that I talked about earlier, I can't quite put my finger on what exactly it is that makes them so lovable, so intriguing. For the male antagonist, Taegong, I think it's because he's so morally ambiguous. He is so charismatic. He's got like a very loyal group of followers around him, so he just makes a very intriguing, very like almost cult leader vibe to him, and I'm just so interested to see like what he's gonna do. His younger, like the character's younger actor, had a very specific way of speaking, a very interesting intonation and like pitch to his voice that like gave the character almost like a whole new level, a whole new dynamic. Like the younger version of that character, I think, had a bit more depth than the older version, simply because there was a different way of speaking, and I miss that. I miss the younger actor, and I guess it's just gonna be something I have to get over because he's grown up now, different actor. If I had to pinpoint what makes the male lead so likable, because like you don't really get a huge sense of his personality so far within these first 3 episodes, but I think it's these interactions that he has with a horse. They're hilarious. I love them to bits. This horse has been nicknamed Helper. The horse is being super stubborn and it's like running away from him, and then the male lead like screams after it, "I'm gonna have to rename you." I am going to continue with the show I think it has a tremendous amount of potential. It is using a lot of really standard fantasy tropes. The mysterious, like, other world, you know, like there's some sort of barrier and then there's a world beyond it. Like, that is such a long-held fantasy trope, especially within literature. So it's like they're doing that, and they've got a prophecy involved, and they've got like a great villain. Like, there's doing so much fantasy stuff that I'm such a sucker for. So like, I'm there for it. And I'm also really excited to see a fantasy that is Korean, because a true epic, unapologetic fantasy in Korean TV is really rare. I haven't seen it much. The first one that comes to mind is like Gu Family Book. I didn't even watch all of that. So it's like, this is a genre within Korean TV that is really lacking. Like, I have heard some people complaining that this show is far too similar to Game of Thrones, and there are similarities with costumes. I will give them that. Nobody owns a trope. Nobody owns the idea of a wall. And this one isn't even a wall. It's like a cliff. So it's like, already it's different. And it's like, what's important is how the show is going to take these commonplace fantasy staple tropes and what they're going to do with them going forward. And that's what I'm specifically excited about. Yeah, let me know down below if you've watched it, what your thoughts are on it, because it's such a mixed bag that I feel like there's going to be very vast responses to this show. So let me know and we'll talk about it in the comments. Have a good day and a good night. Bye.